Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Sam Zagar. We're going to do another chart reading. Okay, let's just put the body graph up. Okay, I know that there are a few people who have been waiting to see a chart like this for a while, and it's because we finally have a juxtaposition cross. We have a very specific 4-1 profile. I've got a 4-1 Ego Manifestor. Let's see what they decided to inform me of in the intake form. Are you having a problem you need help with? Yes. I'm not sure what my biggest strengths and gifts are and how to apply and use them practically. I'd love to hear what you see in my chart. I also struggle with my mind that's not at peace. I'd love peace of mind so I can actually relax into enjoyment and being present with the beautiful things in my life. I've tried meditation, but it's not for me. I've tried meditation, but it's not for me. It's funny that they say meditation right off the bat, because I'm like, meditation is a sense, and it would give peace of mind to a receptive person with a fourth tone, but we are dealing with a strategic person with a second tone. No wonder you don't like meditating. What is your biggest question? What is your guidance for me on living and aligning my best life according to my design? I already understand about informing. I don't need guidance on that. How do I get in touch with my ego authority? Will following my consecutive appetite help me get in touch with my purpose? Consecutive appetite. Will it help me get in touch with my purpose? I mean, if you've been watching any of the 4 transformation stuff I've been doing, yeah. I'm not really sure you can actually live out your full purpose without your consecutive diet type. Because I think that you would be... I think that you would have inferior intelligence if you're not eating according to your consecutive diet type. And if you have inferior intelligence, and I'm not trying to call you dumb, what I'm saying here is brain dead. If you're not eating the right way, you're not fueling your brain the right way. If you're not fueling your vehicle properly, don't expect it to take you where it could have taken you had you fueled it properly. What else are you curious about? My juxtaposition cross of stillness. How is this a life purpose in a practical sense? How do I know if I'm on the right track? Okay. Anything else you need me to know? I've already created a beautiful business that only just supports me financially, supports my basic living. Over the last 10 years, I've grown it to a point that I'm happy with. I've checked in and don't have the will to grow it anymore. I've checked in. Okay, so right there they've said, I've checked in and don't have the will. Earlier up, they said, how do I get in touch with my ego authority? One paragraph down, though, they already said, I've checked in and don't have the will to grow it to the next level. This person is smarter than they're giving themselves credit for. I'm burnt out after 10 years of growing it. It's operating well with staff and a happy community. I'm feeling a loss of what to create and focus on next to increase my income. I'm feeling in limbo. All right, let me look at a couple of things here. So they brought up juxtaposition cross of stillness. So juxtaposition cross we're going to notice in the 4-1 profile right away. Cool things about the juxtaposition. Cool for them. I don't know about the people in their life agreeing to this. But once people are kind of on their train, they can't really get off it. That's the point of the juxtaposition. Well, it's not the point. It's kind of like the with the... What does that sound even represent? Who even knows? The juxtaposition cross is you're stuck with me. When people get on this person's train, they're stuck with them. They take them places. Okay, who's been hopping on your train? Now that's the other thing. Juxtaposition cross. Like no matter what, okay, I've got a 4-1 profile. They've been a 4-1 profile their whole life. But the juxtaposition cross, incarnation cross, is of stillness. But your cross isn't something that's like happening your whole life. There are cycles, there are phases to which we hit different things. Like, you know, environment is post-Saturn return. Your incarnation cross is not significant until a much later phase in life. When people under the age of 45 are asking me like, tell me about my cross, I'm more like, what are you trying to understand? What are you trying to prep for? What are you trying to what are you trying to plan and prepare for? But this person is 47, and I think it's very appropriate that they're asking me about their incarnation cross. So they bring up juxtaposition cross of stillness. All incarnation crosses for a person are made out of 4 gates: the personality, sun, and earth, and then the design, sun, and earth. Now, an interesting thing here, we've got stillness as the name of the incarnation cross, and their personality sun is 52.4. There is a stillness quality of gate 52. There's a waiting quality down in the root center. Hold still, stand still. It's half of the channel of concentration, but this person doesn't have the whole channel of concentration, because if they did, they'd be a generator with a format channel. And we're dealing with an ego manifestor. And single definition. Single definition is nice. I think, honestly, if you're going to be a manifestor, you kind of like double one if you get single definition, because manifestors do a lot of stuff on their own. We try not to interfere with them too much. We try and get out of the way if they inform us to get out of the way. I think it would be more challenging or slightly more annoying for the manifestor to have split definition, to feel like there's a quality of them that either needs or relies on other people in order for them to access all parts of themselves. Looking at this manifestor, I'm like, okay, I've got a 4-1. It's very like my cross, my path, my direction. Single definition, like my way or the highway kind of as a manifestor here. Innocence, motivation, my own world. I have very much a my own world quality. I have gate 45. Just gate 45 in general says mine, mine, my resources, my... The juxtaposition cross of stillness. They ask me about, like, how do you make this practical? Okay, so really the kicker for this cross is actually the gates that are on the body side here, 21 and 48. Now, gate 21 is about control. 48 is about, we've got logical, collective circuitry. We've got an intellectual well. There's a quality of depth here, but like a hidden depth. So I've got a control gate with a first line quality, like diving into the foundation, kind of being insecure, not really trusting about it, like really wanting to set the baseline and have something be solid. 21.1, like, I would think that this person would be... And like, it's not just a 21.1. It's 21 attached to a 45. It is the whole channel of the money line. I'm thinking this person would love to be very controlling with resources. Very controlling with, and I want to say money, but it's not actually that. Like, look at what we're dealing with here. We've got a 0.1, so first line body, with a first color theme, with a first tone. So if I am to say that this person is like controlling about resources that affect their security or their survival, yeah, I want to say money, but at the end of the day, it's food. The number one thing that will make this person feel deeply, deeply like destabilized is an empty fridge, empty cupboards, empty cabinets. I'm getting my goosebumps. That's like my splenic, like, I don't get I get a splenic, like, yeah, keep doing that, like, keep going that way. Smell cognition, consecutive appetite, and an active brain. So this is someone who like actually wakes up hungry. That's something to consider. So this person can wake up with stress and anxiety just because they woke up hungry. Juxtaposition cross of stillness. How is it practical? It's about practical solutions. When we look at the 21 and the 48, we've got control, but we've also got a deep depth of logical, practical knowledge. These people are best utilized of most value to the rest of us, as in they live out their purpose and we use them in their purpose. We recognize them in their role. We want them in this when they provide practical solutions to things. Provide practical solutions. Not only do we have a 48 in this one, you can go even lower in the same circuitry, in the same stream, and get 58 on the personality earth side. Look at this like joyous corrective energy. Hold still. Correct the inferior thing. Apply the depth of knowledge to it. Take control of the reason. Like practical, useful, intelligent solutions. What's interesting though is when you read about this cross or study this cross, there's a lot of acknowledgement about having this cross and it being a challenge when you're either a projector or a generator because of the waiting to be asked to give your solutions, waiting to be asked to provide the practical answer for something. Which it's so funny I keep saying practical answer because I'm not talking about the fifth line heretic kind of stuff here. It's not about the 5 practicality. This is for the cross in particular. But because we're dealing with a manifestor here, this person doesn't necessarily need to wait to be asked to give the practical solution. I wonder about that because perhaps like, has this person studied about this and it's like waiting to give are they waiting a little too much? But also, they had to they had to wait to be a certain age. As I said earlier, you don't just be your incarnation cross. You mature into it as like a bit of an elder role. Now, part of maturing into your incarnation cross, like the cross is in the sun and the earth. What else is in the sun and the earth? The brain and the mind. When I'm doing 4 transformation stuff, I try and be very realistic about the length of time some of this can take because I think people are like, oh, I'm into human design. I learned it. I do my design. I'm like, no. Even if like you have to decondition from where you are and then kind of like recondition a little bit to try and become some of what your potential originally was. But let's say you even raised somebody perfectly for their design from birth. It would still take a lifetime to actualize things. They're not going to find their right environment until Saturn return, which means up until then, we really just need to feed them. Consecutive appetite. How important is this to my purpose? Very. And it has been from the beginning, every day. I have interesting questions like, were you breastfed? If you were breastfed, I always think that's one of the greatest things that can happen for a consecutive baby because it's the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. You might think that breastfeeding would be best for either the hot thirst or the cold thirst because of the thirst component. It's actually not ideal for either one because breast milk is literally body temperature and hot thirst needs above and cold thirst needs below. Like consecutive actually is. I mean, God forbid you were closed taste and this was your favorite thing in the world, or you're direct light and you only breastfed when the sun was up. Like, I'm sure we can hack all of these things, but if you got to have breast milk for a long time as a baby, that would have been amazing for you. And I'm also sorry if you're like, no, it was one of those formula babies. And I'm like, ugh, because for us, that would have sucked. I'm not against formula. But for a consecutive baby, that would not have been ideal for us. Ooh, Shore's artificial. I laugh. You're a nighttime feeder. Well, okay, and there's a bit of a joke there, right? Because again, Saturn return is when the environment actually becomes super relevant. So whether or not you're artificial shores, I'm not sure would have turned you into a nighttime feeder as a baby. But Ra does say that if you are sick as a kid, go into your correct environment. It'll heal you. So maybe you were a nighttime feeder. I would love to ask your caregiver about that. I'm curious why you actually brought up consecutive. Does it have that much to do with my purpose? Is it like how I fulfill my role? Honestly, it does. It has so much to do with it. And if you're bringing it up to me, I have questions about how many of the transformations do you feel like you actually went through? And what stops you from eating consecutively? Are you eating consecutively? I don't want to ask you too many questions. I tend to do that more in sacral readings. If you're not eating that consecutively, you are likely in the wrong environment with the wrong people. And you're not exactly an aura eater, so I'm not going to say that you're like getting full on other things. How do I activate your appetite more? Consecutive appetite, smell cognition. Obviously, like the more that you feed yourself appropriately, the more you enhance your smell cognition. But I would still utilize your smell to figure out what you should be eating. And if anything feels off to you, it's not like smells bad. If something is, if sense-wise you're like, off, there's something off about that. Smell and taste belong to the splenic binary. You don't have a defined spleen. You're not a splenic anything. But you have smell cognition from the splenic binary. So there's a quality of like an immune-based cognition, a lymphatic cognition. How healthy are you? Are you smelling anything that you don't want to be smelling? Have you noticed that you have been eating more consecutively and you've also started to smell things that aren't that pleasant to you? Like, are you coming back into your house after being out for a while and you don't like the smell of your own home? You don't like the smell of the people in your home. You don't like the smell of the people. You are scent sensitive for sure. Artificial shores. You like a very private place. How private and alone are you? At the age that you're at, you could either not have kids, or you could have kids that would be moved out of the house already, or you could have teenagers. Undefined solar plexus. Do you have emotional people in your house? If you have emotional people in your house, they're definitely going to be disturbing your peace a little bit, just because I don't want to necessarily say dysregulate your nervous system, but they will impact, they'll affect how you feel. They'll consistently affect how you feel. I'm curious when you're like, peace of mind. I'm not experiencing peace of mind. I'm like, okay, open head center and open ajna. I could have told you you're not experiencing peace of mind. But it's not just one of those, like, I don't want to be dismissive about it. You're not experiencing your peace. If I don't have, like, as a strategic mind, if I don't have peace of mind, I'm trying to, like, avoid the manifestor thing for a second, just like mind. If I don't have peace of mind, I'm likely transferred and I've lost my cognition. Your innocence motivation, if you transfer into desire, same. And you lose your cognition, which is a quality of uncertainty sense behind it, which is what makes you left. Left being strategic. You want to take, not action, you want an advancement. That's what the strategic mind is doing. Like, what's the advantage? What's the next step? What's the goal? How do I move forward with something? You are innocently, like, in your own world can be receptive or strategic. Keep that in mind. It's the uncertainty that is strategic. And uncertainty isn't like, I don't know. Uncertainty is actually more about, like, getting the right call. There's a two quality to it. There's a gift. There's a genius. There's a... You know how, that's funny. That's so funny to start with. You know how twos don't know what they're good at? You know how twos don't know their gift or their genius? It's a little bit about this. It's almost like you don't know till you get the call. People with uncertainty sense, they're like, it's an odd thing to describe, but they're almost reputations-based people in that like a taste-based reputation. Taste would be on the other side in the brain. They have smell in the brain. They have uncertainty, but they have like taste of the mind, if that makes sense. Taste of the mind is kind of like, it's a little bit, it's like, it's the bougie sense. You know, I'm not doing something inferior. It's like, I don't know. You know, like, but there's also the hopeful quality to it. Like, well, I hope they recognize like I'm the best. I hope they recognize that I'm the one that can give them the advancement. Behind the innocence, like, I'm smiling a lot and I have like a lightheartedness ego. Okay, I'm having you have an unconscious ego. What a kicker. I have an unconscious authority too. They are hard to connect with. But I feel light and like, in this reading, which tells me there might be a chance you're taking yourself too seriously. Are you taking yourself too seriously? And why? And it's funny because I don't think you're angry. And like, don't get me wrong, all manifestors have anger moments. Like you probably have constant anger moments throughout the day, but I'm not saying like, I don't feel an anger from you. I feel like a little confusion, a little hesitation, some deep curiosity. Your ego authority. How do you connect to your ego authority? You have to talk. And the interesting thing here is like, because you have two channels and both of them are vocal channels and they're both only half conscious, my main like question for you is when you talk, can you discern the difference between speaking from your will and speaking from your identity? You can speak from your identity. In fact, like you have a quality of soundboarding to you, but you definitely do not make decisions by soundboarding. Although the soundboard authority and ego manifested authority, they do definitely have a similar quality in that like you are both really speaking who you are, but the difference is even when the projector is speaking who they are, they can't do much about it until someone invites them. You can speak about who you are and then you can still go do what you want with it. And what you want with it is probably the most important thing to say to you as an innocence motivation person. What do you want? So many people actually get desire and innocence backwards. They think desire is like, I want things. So if I'm in my innocence, I can't want things. I'm like, that is not how this works. Desire is leadership. It's like, I want to take you somewhere. I want to lead you somewhere. Innocence is, I want to lead me somewhere. Which is, I want basically what I want. What do you want in your little world? Which is so funny. Little world is such an interesting thing to say to someone with the money line. 45 is territory. It's not a little world at all. What do you want in your big world? All right. I'm going to leave that there. On to the next one.